Hi, and welcome back to Northshire Grows Now. My name is Liz Ruffa, and I am the project director of Northshire Grows, which is an organization that is working to strengthen the food system here in the Northshire. And I'm delighted to have as my guest this afternoon Anore Horton, who is here from Hunger Free Vermont, to speak at our professional development class, Cultivating Farm to School, that we are running on in Manchester this fall. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Liz.
It's
I'm
so
really excited
wonderful
to be here.
Yeah, it's nice that you came down to spend the afternoon with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Can you start by telling us a little bit about Hunger Free Vermont and your role there?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So Hunger Free Vermont is Vermont's statewide anti-hunger advocacy and education nonprofit. And we run a variety of different programs. I'm the Nutrition Initiatives Director there. And so I oversee the part of our work that provides training and technical assistance for organizations like schools, like area agencies on aging, like community action offices, organizations that serve low-income Vermonters all over the state to help them better utilize the federal nutrition programs to make sure that everyone in Vermont has the food that they need to be healthy and active, and that they have dignified means of getting access to that food.
Right. What other programs does Hunger Free Vermont work on right now that our viewers might have heard about?
Yeah, so we also do nutrition and cooking education programs. So we have a program called the Learning Kitchen that we train organizations in communities all over the state to offer for middle school age kids, high schoolers and young adults, and adults as well.
You did one in Manchester a few springs ago, didn't you?
Yes,
I remember hearing about it.
we do them all over the state. It's a really exciting 6-class series.
Yep.
And every class combines nutrition education and also classes in cooking. And it's especially focused on how to be healthy and cook on a tight food budget.
Right, so very much like Everyday Chef, the program that Raffle produces in our area, but with more of a focus. And how long have you been doing these cooking classes?
Oh, for many years. So Hunger Free
Vermont
is over 20 years old, and we've been offering a version of that program for quite a long time now in the state.
So you are here to speak to our farm to school class this afternoon. What does Hunger Free Vermont do in terms of its advocacy work within the farm to school landscape?
Yeah, well, the regional and statewide farm to school organizations in Vermont are some of our most important partners in our child nutrition initiatives work.
Right.
So we think that farm to school is so valuable. It connects students with healthy and fresh food. It connects them with where food comes from.
Yep.
By supporting farmers, it supports local food economies and strengthens community economies in Vermont. What we try to do for farm to school organizations and farm to school coordinators or people at schools who are organizing farm to school programs is we help them to understand the whole range of different nutrition programs that are available for schools to use to feed kids, and the way that expanding those programs, using every one of those federal programs that schools are eligible to use, can really help to strengthen the finances of your school food programs, and that can really help you expand farm to school. And in addition, it's so important that as we're expanding farm to school and local food in Vermont, that we make sure that we're making that accessible to everyone, including our low-income families and low-income students and community members. And so connecting farm to school with the school meal programs really is the way to make sure that happens.
And to really be able to leverage as much as you can to get the best nutrition to the kids that in a way need it the most.
Exactly, and I think that sometimes the people who get committed to Farm to School are teachers, are parents, you know, are and don't necessarily know about all of the different options that schools could use to provide nutritious food for kids. So everybody knows about school breakfast and school lunch, but not everyone knows that there's a after-school meal and snack program, there's a summer meal program, there are a lot of different options that schools can become eligible for, and expanding participation in all those programs can really provide the best foundation for making sure you're eliminating hunger among your students, but also making sure that you've got the funds to purchase local and use that in the school meal programs, for example.
Right. Can you tell us a little bit about the universal meal program?
Yeah, I would love to. So,
because this is a fairly new initiative, correct?
Yes, it is. So this is a provision that's only been available to all 50 states. This is only the second year that it's available. It is part of the federal school lunch program, so it's administered by USDA. It's called the Community Eligibility Provision, CEP is what everybody calls it. And it's not available to all schools, so it's a program that's designed to be used by schools with higher numbers of low-income students. But it allows schools to provide breakfast and lunch at no charge to all students. It eliminates school meal program applications. It eliminates categorizing students by their family income in the cafeteria. And it's very exciting. We have 53 schools in Vermont using the program this year.
And the eligibility happens in what way?
So the eligibility for this program is determined by the percentage of students attending the school that are automatically qualified for free school meals because someone in their household has already been, is already using another federal program. So 3 Squares Vermont, which is our SNAP or food stamps program, Reach Up, or the student is a foster child, or the family is migrant workers, or the student is homeless. So those categories of students make up a certain percentage of the students in every school. If that percentage is 40% or more of your student population, you're eligible to use this Universal Meals program. Yeah.
That is fantastic. You mentioned 3 Squares Vermont a little bit earlier, and I know that that's a program that is also very successful in Vermont, but I'm sure that down in Bennington County, I know that we don't know as much about that program as perhaps we'd like to.
Yeah, well, and that's another aspect of the work that Hunger Free Vermont does. And in fact, we have a training on the sort of the basics of 3 Squares Vermont coming to Bennington County just October 7th. So
awesome. Where?
You know, I don't know the answer to that question off the top of my head.
We'll find out and we'll let our viewers know.
Yeah, exactly.
October 7th. Perfect. That's next week.
It is. It's next week. So, and we offer these free trainings regularly. So if you miss this one, no worries. We'll be back. But the reason why this program is so important is it provides additional funds for families to be able to purchase food at home. So we know our schools do a really good job of providing meals for students 5 days a week when school's in session. But there's weekends, there's vacations, there's nighttime, and we have a lot of families in Vermont who are really struggling to be able to afford food while covering all of the fixed costs. And we know it costs a lot to live in Vermont. And winter's coming, and the heating bills are going to start, and that it becomes very, very challenging for a lot of people all over the state. And 3 Squares Vermont really helps to leverage funds for schools. As I said, the more families who are participating in 3 Squares Vermont in your community, the better chance you have of your school being eligible for this Universal Meals program and other school programs as well. So it's one of those programs that I think people can feel that it's sort of uncomfortable, right, to apply for and ask for food assistance at home, and yet That
It's there to help.
program, that program is something that we've all earned the right to use, right, with our taxpayer dollars.
Right,
And,
absolutely.
And it really can allow people to purchase better quality food and really make sure that their kids have the nutrition that they need to really succeed.
So if you are a family and you want to find out more about Three Squares Vermont, would you go to your town hall? Where might you find information about it? At a medical center or a town office?
So any of those places could be a great place to go. You could also just go to vermontfoodhelp.com.
vermontfoodhelp.com.
Right, all spelled out.
Yep.
And then there's information about the program there. There's a calculator that you can use to find out if you might qualify, and then there's also a toll-free number you can call to just get somebody to directly help you and walk you through the program. But that's kind of the one-stop shop to find out where you can go to get more help.
So sort of like health insurance, it's a service that's available to everyone, and there's a calculator that allows you to figure out pretty quickly what you're eligible for.
That's right.
Great, thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So back to Farm to School a little bit. I was wondering if you could explain how your nutrition work affects the other, so we have learned that there are 3 C's in Farm to School, right?
That's right.
It's the connections between cafeterias, classrooms, and communities.
Right.
So we've been talking a little bit about the food, but how do you see your nutrition advocacy work affecting the other 2 C's?
Right. That is such a great question. So in Vermont overall, 1 in 5 children is living in a food insecure home. So over 20% of our kids are in households where they worry about having enough food to eat every month.
Yep. And this is K-12.
Yes, that's right.
Pre-K as well.
Yes, that's right. And what we know now about learning and brain development for kids is that if kids don't have enough food and proper nutrition, they really don't have the ability to fully focus in school, to learn everything that they need, and to retain what they know. So if we're not making sure that we're giving the best possible nutrition to our kids in school, then we're really undermining the whole purpose of the classroom, right?
Yep.
And Farm to School is such a great way to engage the community and all kids in the school, whether they're food insecure or not, in learning about good nutrition, learning where food comes from, trying new foods, getting fresh and sort of those foods that are the most nutrient packed into their systems. So, I mean, we see it as just a really great place to start working on all of those 3 C's at the same time, and working on ending hunger in our communities.
Right. Thanks.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you might share with us what the biggest obstacle that you are finding, that Hunger Free Vermont is finding in their work at the moment. I mean, you guys have done such amazing work. You've been, in existence now for 25 years?
About 20 years.
20 years, and certainly since I've lived in New York, in Vermont for the last 10 years, I've really seen Hunger Free Vermont's profile certainly not blossom, but that your work as both a resource and an advocacy mechanism really growing to help Vermonters that are hungry. What would make your job easier? What are the obstacles that you guys face?
Well, I wouldn't...
And it can't just be funding.
No, it can't just be funding. But of course, that's what I was going to say.
But it can't be.
I would say that it's not the obstacles that we face as an organization that are the most frustrating for me, right? So I get the privilege of traveling around the state to wonderful organizations like Northshire Grows and these amazing schools where people are working so hard to just provide this great foundation for our kids to grow up and be healthy and successful adult Vermonters, which is what we all want. And and it is funding. Funding is an obstacle.
Yeah.
So the federal nutrition programs are great, and they work to reduce hunger, and they aren't, the reimbursement rates that schools can get for those programs aren't as much as they need to be. You know, and so that is a challenge,
Right.
to figure out how to really make the best use of those programs and figure out how to do that. And you know, Vermont, the federal programs are not designed for Vermont.
Well, that was good. That
You
is
know?
exactly what my next question was going to be.
They're designed for places with, you know, large populations and large concentrations of poverty.
Yep.
And in Vermont, we have, unfortunately, plenty of poverty and hunger to deal with.
Yep.
But we are the most rural state in the country in terms of our population density. And what that means is that our poverty is everywhere, and it's spread out, and it's hidden. And it's a challenge in our smaller schools and our smaller communities and our spread out communities to really make all of the programs that are available work well and reach everyone who really needs that assistance and support. And so that's a, you know, there's so many wonderful things about living in Vermont and our rural nature, and but that's one of the challenges of living here.
So tomorrow is October 1st, and October is National Farm to School Month.
Yes.
And so how does Vermont kind of shape up in the overall national landscape of farm to school? I mean, we've just talked about its scale, both working for itself and against itself, but certainly I know that I attended the Farm to School Institute at Shelburne Farms this year, and it is now called the New England Institute for Farm to School, because Vermont is really considered to be a leader in New England, at least, in all of this work.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that a little bit?
As in so many other things, Vermont is a leader in farm to school, not just in New England, but nationally.
Right.
So we are one of the states with the highest percentages of schools that are making some kind of use of farm to school programming, defined broadly. So that could be school gardens, it could be connecting buying local food from local farmers and connecting them with the cafeteria. It could be having whole curricula around that. You know, there's lots of different ways to define farm to school, but if you take all those ways together and you add that up, Vermont is one of the strongest states in the nation by far in terms of our farm to school efforts. So that is really exciting.
Right.
And I think that if we really brought together the people committed to farm to school and the people who work in our school meal programs, who are some of the most committed people to ending childhood hunger I have ever met, and our school administration and our parent communities, if we brought all those people together and we really got strategic about how to make use of all of these federal programs that bring federal reimbursement dollars into our schools and our communities to buy food from our local farmers, right? If we leveraged that as much as we could, and we kept on growing the farm to school movement, I think we could do tremendous things for our community economies and for ending childhood hunger.
That is so super. I was wondering if there was a particular success story that you might be able to share with us about just something that you have seen either in a community or especially in a school community, a transformation of sorts because you've been doing this work, I believe, for about 5 or 6 years now?
Yes. Well, yeah, so I will share a story. It's not from Bennington County, but it's something that could be easily replicated in Bennington County. And it connects two of my favorite things that schools can do. One is farm to school. One is buying local food and serving it to students. And the other is expanding participation in school breakfast.
There you go.
Because school breakfast really is the most important meal of the day.
Truly, right.
It has the most powerful effect on student health, student learning, student attendance, student behavior, even more than lunch does. And yet, participation in breakfast tends to be much lower than in lunch. And the main reason for that is the timing of breakfast. So while lunch is served as part of the school day, breakfast is generally served before the school day starts.
Yep.
So the best way to make a difference with ending, with sort of reducing child hunger and providing those good learning outcomes is to take breakfast and move it after the bell, is what we say.
After the bell,
yes.
right.
So the story I'm going to tell you is of Thatcher Brook Primary School.
Mm-hmm. And Thatcher Brook is where?
It is in Waterbury. It's in the Waterbury-Duxbury School District.
Yep, so that's Washington County.
In Washington County,
Yep.
exactly. And so in Thatcher Brook Primary School, the food service director there really went to work with the teachers and the principal and everybody else and proposed this pilot to take breakfast out of the cafeteria and move it onto tables in the hallways where students, as they came in the building before school, could go to one of these tables and select the breakfast items they wanted, put them in a little sort of bowl, tray,
Right.
and then take it to their classrooms. So they could socialize before school, but then they could eat their breakfast in the classroom.
For everybody.
And
Yep.
right, and anybody who wanted it could have it. So when she did that, she quintupled her breakfast participation in 2 weeks. Quintupled. And
that is data working for you.
of course, the teachers, which is totally understandable, were concerned about, would this disrupt class? Would this be really messy to clean up?
Yep.
But she surveyed the teachers after 3 months of piloting this, and every single teacher said, no, keep doing this. This is
Right.
great because students are so focused in the morning, and while they're having breakfast, I review what we learned yesterday, and I do the school announcements, and they're ready to learn. And there's no more behavior disruptions. Those just went way down because kids weren't hungry,
Yep.
so they weren't acting out, and they were really able to learn and focus. And so not only that, but she increased her revenue in her breakfast program. She by $1,000 a month.
Wow.
And that's after more food costs and after her labor costs. So that was profit to put back into the meal program.
Into the meal program.
And she was able to provide additional hours for the women who worked in her program to prepare all these additional breakfasts. So that's providing some more money for local families right
Sure.
there. And she was able to take that money and put it into buying more local food. So her breakfasts include local yogurt, local eggs, local fruit.
Yep.
Right? And so she's buying more local food.
Maple syrup, not dreaded corn
and
syrup.
using, right, and using it in her meal program. Right? So there's our local food connection. She's putting more money back into the local economy.
Sure.
She's using federal dollars, bringing federal dollars in by increasing her breakfast participation and therefore her reimbursement. And many, many more kids are eating. And so last year was the second year of her doing this. Her breakfast participations continued to go up, and she said her lunch participation went up, and she didn't understand why that was. So she asked some parents who had started having their kids eat lunch, who had never had their kids eat lunch before, why have you suddenly started? And they said, well,
Their friends were.
when I come in with my kid to drop her off at school, there's your lunch staff, your school meal program staff out there. They know my kid's name. I'm looking at this high quality food you're serving, these yogurt parfaits with local yogurt, and I realize you have a great meal program, and I want my kid to have lunch here too. So all of that can happen when we really pay attention to maximizing participation in the school meal programs, and then leverage that to buy more local food and bring it into our schools.
That is so exciting. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, does Hunger Free Vermont have any other plans or initiatives that they're working on that you might be thinking of bringing down south into Bennington County?
Yes, well, it's very exciting, actually, what's starting to happen in Bennington County. So first of all, the Southwest Vermont Supervisory Union this year has taken all of their schools to the Universal Meal Program, and they're moving school by school to move breakfast into the classroom. So this is just such a success, and I just applaud the efforts here to really make that change.
Awesome.
In addition, we're really excited at Hunger Free Vermont that we are expanding our Hunger Council model, and we're going to be bringing a Hunger Council to Bennington County in about 6 months from now.
Wonderful.
And the Hunger Councils are gatherings of community leaders from all different sectors of the community, kind of placed regionally around the state, that come together to learn about hunger in their specific communities and region, and then to decide what they want to do about it, and where are the gaps in service, and what are the most important things to go to work on in their counties. And Hunger Free Vermont provides staff support for those councils, and then really helps support whatever work the councils choose to take on in their communities, whatever they see as the priority to go and address hunger in their communities.
Oh, that's fantastic. Hunger is definitely an issue in our region, and so it's wonderful that that mobilization will be happening. And hopefully in 6 months or so, you'll be able to come back, or someone else from Hunger Free Vermont will be able to come back and tell us a little bit more about the launch as well as the council itself.
Yes, and these councils are really open to anyone who's committed to going to work on hunger issues. And so if anybody's
watching and is interested, they could contact Northshire Grows, or they could contact Hunger Free Vermont.
Yes, that's right. And we would love to hook you up.
Great. Thank you so much for spending some time with us and telling us about your work. It's such important work, and we thank you so much for doing it, and for also bringing it down into this part of the state. And thank you for listening, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.